Before we get any further into the video, have you checked out my Spotify playlist? I add new stuff to it pretty much anytime I find a cool new song, so I update it usually a couple times a week with some new stuff. So if you are looking for new music to check out, hit the link in the description of this video. Here's a video that I saw come up in my feed from this channel, Mic The Snare. I've never watched this guy's videos, but I've seen some of them come up. A lot of kind of Rick Beato type stuff, you know, Queen discography dive, The Strokes, Arctic Monkeys, you know, seems to be that sort of thing. He seems like one of these like sort of music appreciator types. And I saw he has a video here featuring Papa Het learning to like metal. And I thought, why would anybody want to do that? Dear God, it may not be too late to save this man. Trust me, as someone who's been listening to metal for over 30 years, trust me, my friend, it's not too late. It's never too late to turn back. Save yourself while you still can. Well, let's check it out. Let's see what his journey on learning to like metal. Let's see what it is.
I love having a diverse taste in music. I love this Spoon album, and sometimes even this Spoon album. But despite my eclectic taste comprised of 3 albums, there's one genre I've always wanted to get into more.
Respect for a man who likes Spoon. This is Ghost, right?
Metal. And today's the day where I do the thing I just said I've always wanted to do.
Listen, man, like I said, I don't know why you would want to do this to yourself, but here we are. It's like having the intervention with someone. You're like, oh my God, what are you doing? Why do you want to do this to yourself? The least I can do is it's harm reduction. That's what we're here to do. This is metal harm reduction. We can't stop this man from going down the wrong road. But what we can do is help him do it safely.
This is just one guy trying to get more into metal and sharing his thoughts in the process. First off, I just want to lay it out. I don't hate metal or anything. This is not going to be Metal Hater destroyed by riffs and growls. Metal and I are not on bad terms. It's just...
You will be once you meet the fans. If the music didn't turn you off, once you meet the fans, that'll do it.
To change that, I asked my followers on Twitter,
so here's
what's
his plan.
One metal album to recommend to a new
Here's his plan. He asked his Twitter followers.
Mentioned albums and set out to become a lover of all things metal. First up, Pizza Death.
Pizza Death?
Oh, I get it.
I assume this is one of these municipal waste like pizza thrash bands, right?
Pranked. Let's actually start out with 3 classics. First, Black Sabbath's Paranoid. One could reasonably consider this a godfather of heavy metal.
You sure could. I have a confession to make. I have never listened to a Black Sabbath album. True story. I mean, obviously I know the hits. I've heard them like on commercials and whatnot. I have never deliberately listened to a Black Sabbath album. I don't think I've ever even deliberately listened to a Black Sabbath song like on Spotify or YouTube. I've never owned a Black Sabbath album. It's the truth. So I'm a poser. It's the truth.
The qualities that will define metal going forward. Loud and menacing guitars, intense drums, howling vocals. You can hear all of this on the fantastic opener, War Pigs.
Generals gathered in their masses.
The only reason I know that song is because Faith No More covered it on The Real Thing, and I loved Faith No More when I was in like 7th grade.
Honestly though, if I didn't know any better, I'd say some songs on here are straight up blues. Makes sense, since Black Sabbath came up right at the tail end of a big blues.
It makes sense, but I wouldn't know, because I've never listened to the whole album.
And it showed me how captivating.
But I'll take your word for it.
Next up, Metallica. Before I listened to any record, I knew Metallica were going to be in here somewhere. It's in their name, for God's sake. The specific...
I'll make another confession. I have never owned a Metallica album. Obviously, I know their songs, and I have heard, like, I've listened to all their stuff over the years because it's Metallica, and like, how can you not? But I have never owned a Metallica album in my entire life. I have never liked Metallica, other than I like Sad But True is like the only Metallica song I actually like.
The Black Album, the one with the snare drum, the one with no bass, the one with the table. But the record that most people...
For a man who doesn't know anything about metal, he seems to be very aware of all the reasons why I have never listened to Metallica. The man knows. Listen, you made the right choice. You already knew that Metallica is, well, let's just say not great. You already know. If you know about Metallica, if you know about Saint Anger and Lulu, why would you subject yourself to it?
Was Master of Puppets. From what I've read about Metallica, this record came from their legendary thrash metal period before they got
this came from Stranger Things.
Popular.
For the record, I'm 20 and I bought Master of Puppets when it came out. Me too. I am also 20 years old, and I also bought it when it came out. What a small world.
It also helps that both Puppets and Paranoid have had major pop culture moments. Master of Puppets, the song, featured heavily in the latest season of Stranger Things, and Black Sabbath's Iron Man was famously used in the hit Marvel film Howard the Duck. The third classic is Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast. This one caught
I have also never owned an Iron Maiden record. I have never voluntarily listened to Iron Maiden. The only song I know is Run to the Hills and The Trooper. Those are the only two Iron Maiden songs I know. I tried to get into them many times when I was a kid, but by the time I heard Iron Maiden, I was already listening to like Sepultura and DRI and Slayer and stuff like that. So for me, like listening to Iron Maiden and Judas Priest after I'd heard Sepultura was just like, this shit sucks. Why would anybody want to listen to this? This is so boring. I was listening to thrash in like 1990. You know, I got into Sepultura and Suicidal Tendencies and The Accused and stuff like that in like 1990. But, you know, just for whatever reason, I didn't hear any of this sort of like basic stuff until after I'd already heard that stuff. And like, you can't really go back to Iron Maiden after you've heard Sepultura, you know, like, and not Chaos AD, not the new metal shit. I'm talking like Arise. You can't go back to Iron Maiden after you've heard Arise, you know? Exactly. I was so disappointed the first time I heard Iron Maiden. I was expecting this heavy shit, but it was corny, low energy songs about mummies. Exactly. I mean, hey, I like mummies, but exactly.
The title track and Run to the Hills being highlights especially. I'm feeling pretty confident so far. Let's jump ahead and check out...
look, so far, I would say that he has better opinions about metal than I do, because I already know the comments. I'm going to put this on YouTube, and I already know all the comments are going to be telling me what a poser I am because I don't like Metallica and Iron Maiden and Black Sabbath, and everyone in the comments of his video is going to tell him how great he is. This video is a lesson on how to have popular opinions, which I don't.
Blaze in the Northern Sky.
Uh-oh.
The next album is by Coco Melon. Okay, I think I bit off a little more than I can chew here. Another album I saw constantly recommended was System of a Down's Toxicity, which is funny because, as I learned by doing...
I have never owned a System of a Down record, and I never fucking will!
A lot of people don't actually consider this metal, and I can see where they're coming from. This is a major step away from the records I've heard so far. Many listeners would say SOAD leans more alternative rock. I don't have a dog in that debate, though, so I'll
a lot of people don't like it when you call System of a Down new metal.
Regardless of what subgenre you call it, Toxicity is great. I also saw people recommending Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory.
Okay, here we go. I do like Linkin Park. Linkin Park is a great band. This is a great album.
Really? I'm not saying it's bad. It's a damn good record. I don't know where I'd be in life if I didn't hear this in elementary school. It's got great hooks and
Linkin Park is great.
The reason I was surprised is my own bias, having grown up hearing them on pop radio. I know it's kinda silly to say, but Linkin Park have always been pop music in my mind. I mean, listen to In the End again. Are you telling me these guys weren't huge Doobie Brothers fans? Linkin Park and System of a Down both belong to a subgenre
so he's a joker.
Called nu metal, which blends
he's
metal
making
with
some
conventional
jokes.
rock and occasionally even hip-hop. Same with Deftones, apparently, though I didn't really hear that when checking out their acclaimed 2000 record, White Pony.
White Pony, one of the best snare sounds of all time.
The
band is mid, but that's the drum sound on the album, 10 out of 10.
Everything about this record on paper should be an easy win for me, but at least right now, I missed that thing. You know, that moment where everything clicked.
I do know what you mean, because that is the same reaction I have when I listen to the Deftones. I think, am I missing something? Why does everyone say this band is a 10 when they're a big fat 6 in my book? So I'm with you. I like this guy so far.
Now, Ghost is a band that I already know and enjoy. The first song I ever heard from them was from this record, Meliora, Cerise, and I love this song.
I kind of like Ghost. I wouldn't say they're like my favorite band of all time or anything, but I like Ghost. They're catchy.
The rest of the album does not disappoint. I love the addition of elements from symphonic and choral music. Gives the full album an epic feel and validates my music degree. Definitely worth checking out. Gojira's From Mars to Sirius, I'll Burn It is considered a big deal in progressive metal.
Gojira's a good band, and I do like them, but I find it interesting. Well, there's two things that I think are interesting about them. They're a good example of one of these bands that, to me, is definitely good, but the people who like Gojira really treat them like they're God's gift to music. And I'm just kind of scratching my head like, really? Because when I listened to Gojira, I was like, oh, this sounds like Trust Kill Hardcore. You know, this sounds like, I don't know, Bury Your Dead, like a little bit more technical version of Bury Your Dead or Throwdown or something to me, which isn't a bad thing. I just don't really understand why people worship Gojira as much as they do.
Titanic riffs and an overarching narrative centered on environmentalism. I'd also call this one
They do seem like great
but
guys.
not in the same way as
And the drummer is
Meliora.
fantastic.
It communicates Slayer's mainstream breakthrough, Rain
Love
and
Slayer.
Blood, is just as abrasive as all
Love
these records
Slayer.
before it. Not just in sound, but
One
in
of the
lyrical
all-time
matter.
greats.
The Ocean
Love
King.
Slayer.
But what surprised me most is how clean it sounds, which can be
Sounds
credited
great.
to Rick Rubin.
One of my friends, who I will not name, but he is a very well-known producer, I asked him if he liked Slayer, and he said, fuck no. Everything on that album sounds like it was recorded with an SM57 with no EQ and not even mixed. That is exactly why I like the production. It sounds super dry and kind of weird and not metal at all, and I love it.
It's considered a thrash masterpiece. A thrash.
It is a fucking thrash
and
masterpiece.
It made Slayer a
If
presumably
anything, I
dedicated
think
to
Slayer
Rain
is
and
underrated.
Blood. In that same thrash vein, I also checked out a more recent record,
Power Trip,
Trip's
okay.
Nightmare Logic.
Yeah, Power
It's
Trip's a good band.
ferocious.
It's kind of a predictable pick, but I understand for someone who is just getting into metal, you know, Power Trip is pitchfork metal. It's decibel metal, which is not a bad thing. I think they're a great band. It's just a little bit of a predictable pick. You know, Ghost and Power Trip, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
But overall, a brutal display of power, but not a vulgar one, because that already exists. Vulgar display of power by
True.
Pantera. The Pantera belong to another subgenre called groove metal.
You guys
And
know
out
I
of any
love
record
Pantera.
I've listened to so far, their ability to switch grooves
One of my
at the
all-time
drop of a
favorite
dime
bands.
kept me the most engaged, especially on This
Okay.
Love.
Oh, I'm disappointed that this is the song he picked, but I guess it makes sense. For someone who doesn't like metal, you know, this is a relatively accessible song. One of my least favorite Pantera songs. I think it's the worst song on this album. For me personally, the least interesting song on this album, but, you know, it is still objectively a good song. That's right. You got to send him one of your metal starter pack videos. That I should have. Hey, Mike, you should have asked me. I would have sent you my technical brutal death metal starter pack and then followed it up with my brutal technical death metal starter pack and followed that up with my slamming brutal technical death metal starter pack. So you would have had a little bit more diverse range of stuff to choose from.
Let's do one more recent record, Deafheaven's Sunbather. This was one of those metal records that managed to cross into my musical circles.
Oh,
when it
see, look at this. This is how you know it's pitchfork hipster metal. For one, what kind of guitar is this? Some like Fernandez guitar, surf guitar, something like that. That's a problem. Not metal. The bassist here, he's wearing white shoes. Not metal. If you're going to be in a metal band, you got to be wearing these. If you're not wearing shoes for crews on stage, you are not in a real metal band. Deafheaven confirmed posers.
my musical circles when it came out, and I'm not afraid to say I enjoyed it then. And
I actually do think Deafheaven is a cool band. I forget the name of the one song they have that's like a major key black metal song. I actually think they're a cool band. They are hipster metal, but that's okay. I think they're actually really good. I like Deafheaven.
I am also not afraid to admit I did not know the lead singer was singing words until very recently.
Oh, this is the song I like, actually.
It's not like you can really hear them anyway. Sunbather is often considered as much of a shoegaze record as it is a metal record. I will posit that it also belongs to a third genre called good. The ending section of Closer, the pecan tree, always
confirmed
gets me emotional.
hipster black metal. Here's my real problem. He said pecan, not pecan. Tell me in the chat, what do you guys think? Is it pecan or pecan? I don't like pecan. That just feels wrong to me. It's pecan, isn't it? Right? It's pecan. What about like caramel versus caramel? Oh, he's from Cleveland. Okay, well, that explains a lot. Okay, well, I liked this guy until he said pecan. That's where I draw the line, motherfucker. Now we've got beef. You said pecan instead of pecan. That's where I draw the goddamn line. Yes, this is totally true. It's funny because a lot of screamo bands in the late 90s and early 2000s were doing the exact same sound as on Sunbather minus the blast beats. That is totally right. I will play this really quick so that everybody knows what he is talking about. Union of Uranus. Union of Uranus. Sounds exactly like Deafheaven, right? Now, Deafheaven are actually... Here's a secret. They're not metal guys. They're hardcore guys. So I would be willing to bet that they probably like a lot of that stuff. And they would probably agree with me. But anyway, I do like Deafheaven quite a bit.
All those records under
Good
my
band.
belt. Let's check out that Darkthrone album one more time.
Not good, but it's okay.
Okay.
See, here's why I appreciate black metal. You see, he's struggling to like this. And here's why I appreciate black metal, is that black metal was designed to be normie repellent. Black metal was specifically designed to scare and alienate people like him. And it did its job. You can see he's telling himself, I know I'm supposed to like this because black metal is cool, but this sounds like shit and I don't like it. I know I'm supposed to, but it's bad. I respect that. I respect it. I like legitimately. I've made fun of black metal lots of times, but I do respect that it was like deliberately designed to be inaccessible, repellent music. And as you can see, it's doing its job.
I still don't really care for it. For the record, this is considered a seminal album in Norwegian black metal. And in giving it another listen,
you don't care for it because you're false metal, and that's okay.
Each member brings their own kind of sheer noisy aggression while not overpowering the mixes.
And they're just like, LMAO, we just wanted to sound like shit. You thought we were trying to make art. We just wanted to sound like shit.
But I can't bring myself to say that I loved it. And you know what? Even though I've enjoyed basically all of these albums, there's some part of me that's still not fully in love with the overarching genre of metal.
Okay, good. Oh, thank God. Maybe we don't have to stage an intervention. He said there's still some part of me that's not in love with the overarching genre of metal. Okay, now I feel better. I feel like maybe we reached him. Somehow, collectively, we reached him. 1,000 voices crying out into the internet saying, no, Mike, don't do this to yourself. Please don't. I feel like somehow our voices were heard.
Why is that? It's not the guitars. I like the ominous feeling created from the drop tuning. It's not the drums. The ludicrously fast tempos can reach superhuman levels of technicality. It's not the vocals, I think. Not just because I enjoy how abrasive they can be, but because I respect anyone who can pull off growls like that. Maybe it's all of it. All of it.
Exactly. And he hasn't even met the fans yet. Oh, man. If you thought the music was bad, wait until you meet the fans.
This might be too strong of a word, but monotony of it all. At best, it could leave me drained, and
good
at
opinion.
worst,
I like this. He said metal is monotonous. I think that's actually a very insightful, respectable opinion.
Of course, that's not a universal experience. Someone might turn to metal to get their aggression out. I can understand that. It's like half the reason I listen to 100 Gex. That might also be why I've appreciated the detours from System of a Down and Ghost more quickly. They weave in new elements that contrast and enhance the expected metal.
Well, no, the problem is that this fucking poser doesn't even know the difference between brutal technical death metal and technical brutal death metal. How could you possibly... The only reason you think brutal technical death metal is monotonous is because you haven't heard technical brutal death metal. God damn it, at least try. Oh, this guy sucks.
It might also be because the sounds they're weaving in are sounds that I'm already familiar with. Shout out to the people on Twitter who said exactly that, because you're 100% right.
Honestly, what fans are cool, though? Metal fans are especially bad and pretentious, but I can't think of a genre with normal acting fans. I'll tell you, there are two genres of fans that have never given me any trouble at all. Butt rock and country. Those are the two genres of fans that are chill. The reason why is because they're normal people whose whole identity doesn't revolve around defending their favorite genre online. Think about it. People who listen to Disturbed and Shinedown, they don't really give a shit what you think about their music. They're like, oh yeah, I listen to a lot of that butt rock stuff from the 2000s. But hey, listen, I gotta go pick up my kids. Good talk. Same thing with country. They don't give a shit. They don't care. They have other things in their lives going on besides defending the honor of the music that they like.
I enjoy aspects of metal when they're in genres I already listen to. I enjoyed that Poppy record from 2020, Rina Sawayama's debut from... I had my Sunbather phase in 2013. I'm not above the law. And now that I think about it, you could levy the same monotony complaint against pop or dance or rap. Someone might think those genres are nothing but the same over and over again. I would disagree, but I've also spent more time in those genres. Despite how I might feel, I don't rationally think it's fair to paint all of metal as monotonous.
Oh, no, look, man, hey, look, it's okay. You can say it. You were right. You were right. Stick with that opinion, my friend. You were right. Metal is monotonous. You had it right the first time. Don't apologize. Don't go back.
I definitely plan on continuing my own journey with metal, but let me pass the question on to you.
Why?
What do you think of these records if you've heard them? Let's wrap this up with the greatest metal album of all time, the Pizza one again?
Okay, it is municipal waste music. Cutting pizza with scissors. What the fuck? That's the worst thing in this whole video. Somebody cutting pizza with scissors. Why? You know in Korea they put corn on pizza?
Oh, this is actually good.
Okay, well there we have it. There's Learning to Like Metal by Mic The Snare. I'm happy to hear that in the end, it seems like he said, you know what, maybe I don't actually like metal that much. And listen, he said in the end, I'm going to try again. My advice, Mike, don't try again. Get out while you still can. Save yourself before it's too late, my friend. This is a long, dark road. You're not going to like what's at the end because what's at the end is the fans. Next episode is learning to dislike metal. Well, that'll happen after you meet the fans. Don't worry. Give it time.